Hello and welcome to the 2026 Open Day Countdown, a series where we count down to Open Day by previewing all three teams' MLB. Yesterday we spoke about the Los Angeles Dodgers, and today we'll be talking about the New York Yankees. Last year, the Yankees finished with a record 94 and 68, second place at AL East. They won in the AL Wildcard Series over the Red Sox in 3 games, but they lost in the LDS to the Blue Jays in 4 games. The Yankees didn't do that much in the offseason. They sort of just brought back a lot of guys who were leaving in free agency, but they're still a very good team last year, so running it back isn't the worst option. So without further ado, let's get into it. So again, like on the hitting side, you can see like a lot of guys who are returning. Like one of the few big additions is, well, not really a big addition, is Randall Grichuk. Last year he had a 82 WC plus, but BFIP plus of 110. And just to clarify, BFIP is essentially a stat I created, which looks at, it sort of works like FIP, but instead of looking at home runs, it looks at barrels. So that's why I have barrel rate shown here. And so basically looking at strikeouts, walks, and barrels to basically project both hitting and pitching. So Aaron Judge, for example, like he had a 204 WC plus last year, but according to BFIP, he's expected for, he had a 214 BFIP plus, which means his expected WC plus is basically 214. So Aaron Judge was a very good hitter last year. Obviously, you look at the splits for him. Against righties, 197 BFIP plus. I guess a little bit lower, but against lefties, he was insane. 272 BFIP plus, absolute insanity. You can see like 23% walk rate, 16% barrel rate, 23% strikeout rate for him against lefties. So Judge, easily one of the best, if not probably the best hitter in baseball. Like there isn't really much debate with that. But they still have like a ton of good hitters in the lineup. Ben Rice, he broke out last year, 133 WRC plus, a 145 BFIP plus. Trent Grisham, he had like a career year as well, 129 WRC plus, but BFIP plus of 138, which is much higher. Giancarlo Stanton, 158 WRC plus, but sort of overperformed, 127 BFIP plus, and then Chisholm was also a very good hitter last year. Cody Bellinger, they re-signed. JC is, or I just want to touch on him real quick. Like, wasn't that great offensively last year, but BFIP is pretty high on him, and also he is a catcher. Like, you do have Ben Rice who can catch, but not the best defensively, and then you have Austin Wells who's like that more defensive catcher, but not the great offensive catcher. So Iskara, you can sort of he's sort of like a little bit of both, where sort of good defensively, sort of good offensively. So he's a pretty decent third catching option. And then Goldschmidt, he was sort of average last year by WC plus and BFIP plus, but if you look at the splits for him, against righties, not great at all. 74 WC plus and a 75 BFIP plus. But against lefties, is where he did a ton of damage. 169 WC plus and 179 BFIP plus. So yeah, just a very good offense. Against righties, they have a ton of talent, of course, like Judge, Rice, Grisham, and then some more complementary pieces as well. And then against lefties, they just have like a ton of guys who are at least average last year, even though, like, look at these guys like Human small sample, Viva small sample, but like, yeah, when like let's say Rosario or Caballero get hurt, then like you can just call up Vivas or Schumann pretty easily. So yeah, very good offense. Onto the pitching staff. Uh, they have a very good pitching staff as well, but they do have a few guys who are going to be hurt to start the year. Notably, Garrett Cole, who missed all of last year, he's going to miss the first month or so. And then Carlos Rodon is also hurt, and then Clark Schmidt is also hurt. Two guys who were better than average last year. ERA low threes, but BFIP 3.6 around. Definitely like good enough to be in rotation, but like if healthy, but they aren't healthy to start the year. So instead, they'll be running with Freed, who had a bit of issues this spring, but still a good, very good pitcher. Like probably their ace if he's healthy to start the year, which is a little bit of a question mark, but I think he'll be fine. 26 ERA, 347 BFIP for him. And then Cam Schultler, he really broke out last year. Very like throws very hard, like ton of strikeouts, walks a bit of guys, but still a good pitcher. Sub 3 ERA, 372 BFIP, just an above average pitcher. Yarbrough is a bit of a long reliever. They also have Blackburn, who isn't going to be shown here because he didn't start that many games. He's also a long reliever. They traded for Weber's this offseason. I think probably their most biggest like impact, like their most impactful addition that wasn't just re-signing somebody. Weber's 3.99 ERA last year, 4.20 BFIP, so pretty much average, but he does have very good stuff like fastball sits 97, 98, which is pretty rare from a lefty. And you can see like he doesn't walk that many guys either. But the only issue is like he gives a ton of hard contact, and he has given up a ton of hard contact attacks so far this spring's like it remains to be seen if he'll like fix that up in the regular season. But the random rotation since Rodon, Schmidt, and Cole are out, it's gonna be Warren and Heel. Two below average arms by BFIP, 447 for Warren, 505 for Heel. But they're better by ERA, and like they're also like decent by like their stuff is also pretty decent. Heel, I know like he's been a little bit worse this year. Sorry, like last year, and then also I guess you say the spring as well, but he's a solid like stopgap as their 5 starter before like Rodon comes back, who's better, and before Cole comes back. Onto the bullpen. The bullpen was like a little bit of a weakness last year for the Yankees, and they did lose a couple guys like Devin Williams and Luke Weaver both signed with the Mets, and Mark Leiter Jr. he signed with the A's. But they do still have some good names like Bednar is their closer, ton of strikeouts, not many walks, 2.30 ERA, 2.77 BFIP. Definitely the best arm in that bullpen, and definitely will be the closer to start the year. Fernando Cruz and Camilo Doval are like your setup men. 3.5 ERAs for each. 2.96 BFIP for Cruz. 3.72 for Doval. So I think Doval I think his stuff grades out is better, but I do like Cruz more just because like the peripherals are better across the board for him, especially compared to Doval. But they're both like good setup men. And you have Brent Hedrick, who's solid. Jake Bird, who they got at the deadline. Paul Blackburn, they have as well, as sort of like a long reliever. And then Tim Hill, like not many strikeouts, but like not many walks. Like a little bit, barrel's a little bit high, so that's why BFIP is low on him. But he does get a ton of ground balls, like very funky release, and gets a ton of double plays as a result. So that's why the ERA was better than the peripherals. And I do think there's a chance that he pitches closer to his ERA than like FIP or XFIP or BFIP. Yeah, decent bullpen, decent rotation. Let's get into the predicted lineups. So at catcher, it's like so Ben Rice is playing every day, but Wells is playing against at catcher against righties. Against lefties, it's Rice at catcher. Rice is first base against righties, and against lefties at first base is Paul Goldschmidt. So it's sort of a platoon of Wells and Goldschmidt. I do think Rice ends up being platooned, but I think he's definitely good against lefties, like 120 BFIP plus against them. And then Wells, he wasn't that great against lefties, 88 BFIP plus. Against righties, he's better. Where is he? 91 WC plus and 93 BFIP plus. So since he's better against righties, I do think Wells will be playing against righties, but then against lefties, probably. I think it should be Rice catching, but I think what ends up happening is Wells is just the everyday catcher. Rice, strong side platoon first base. Goldschmidt, strong side platoon first base. But if I were like managing the Yankees, I'd probably go like Rice catching against lefties. And then you do also have like Escara on the bench, who was pretty good last year. Definitely good against righties. 121 BFIP plus. I believe against lefties wasn't as great. Yeah, only at 39 BFIP plus. But it's like small sample, but like it's because like they didn't use him against lefties at all. Like they sort of just platoon him. So I think you can make an argument of like, let's say Wells doesn't pan out, then Escara plays catcher, and then there's like more justified to have Escara platooning because he's not great at all against lefties. Second base, I have Jazz Chisholm Jr. Third base, it's a platoon of McMahon and Rosario, and then shortstop, everyday Jose Caballero. So Chisholm, he was definitely better against righties. 124 BFIP plus against righties. Against lefties, he was platooned a little bit, but he was still better than average against lefties. 106 WC plus and 112 BFIP plus. But as for McMahon, he was pretty average against righties. Against lefties, like not that great. Only a 74 BFIP plus. So McMahon definitely is getting platoon, and I do have Rosario on the short side. Last year Rosario had a 125 WC plus and a 1-2 BFIP plus, so he sort of Rosario overperformed against lefties last year, but still projected to be average. So sort of like an average offensive platoon at third base, but defensively you have McMahon, who's a very good defender. Rosario, not so much, but still solid at third base. And then, of course, like shortstop, Caballero, who's another guy who's better against lefties. You can see the splits again, but against righties, not so great. Of course, like Volpe should be the probably everyday guy, but I think, well, first of all, Volpe is hurt the second year, so he won't be available. But like when Volpe comes back, I think what ends up happening is Volpe plays every day, and then something like you sort of see like McMahon and Caballero platoon, and then Rosario maybe moves to eventual, or maybe it's still McMahon and Rosario, but Caballero is sort of like that super utility guy where he sort of plays a little bit everywhere. In the outfield, Bellinger, Grisham, and Judge. Of course, no reason to bench Judge. Bellinger and Grisham are two lefties, and I did sign Grishuk, who's sort of like a short sign platoon bat. But first of all, like offensively, he wasn't that great. Like against righties, like he was sort of comparable with Bellinger, but Bellinger was a better defender and worse than Grisham. And then against lefties, he was actually worse than, like, sort of comparable to Grisham and worse than Bellinger. Like it was Bellinger actually had like reverse platoon splits, which was kind of weird last year. Yeah, because Grichuk, like not a not as impactful offensively and not as good defensively either. I think Grichuk is probably more of a bench bat, like sort of like a pinch hitter situation. But I think he does like get reps against lefties like over Bellinger over Grisham. I mean, like if he's replacing Grisham, then Bellinger moves over to center field, and then Grichuk plays in left. At DH, Giancarlo Stanton. He's very good hitter. Like against righties, 115 BFIP plus, 157 WC plus. Against lefties is where he did most of the damage. 158 WC plus, 164 BFIP plus. But it's a matter of health for him. Like last year, he only played in 77 games, and past few years he hasn't really had a qualified year. So I think if Stanton gets hurt, then obviously like that opens up more playing time for Goodchuck. Like maybe Escara as well. Like you put Escara in a catcher and then Ben Rice, or like maybe Escara at first base and Ben Rice DHing, or you can go a few different ways. Like maybe Ben Rice catching, Goldschmidt, or like DH or something. Like a lot of different ways you can go about it. As for the pitching staff, Max Fried, Schlittler, Weathers, Warren, and Heel. Again, it's a pretty good pitching staff. Like Fried and Schlittler, and I'd argue Weathers just because of the upside. Like three very good arms at the top of the rotation. Warren and Heel, not so great, but you're sort of waiting for Cole and Rodon to come back, and it'll only take like a month or so, like 1 to 2 months for them to come back. You know, when they come back, it's like Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Rodon, Schlittler, and Weathers. That's a very good five right there. And then yeah, that's definitely like in contend with most teams for like not just let alone like playoff teams. Yeah. So as for the bullpen, David Bednar, Fernando Cruz, and Duvall in the back end. Again, like all three, like uh, Bednar, Cruz, Duvall, all three were very good pitchers last year. Duvall, like not so much because of the walks mostly, but he does have very good stuff. Like I'm definitely confident in him, like pitching to an above average ERA this year. Then you have Tim Hill, Brent Hedrick, Shake Bird to sort of round out the bullpen. The leverage bullpen, I should say. Uh, like pretty solid arms last year. Like Hedrick was very good, but like smaller sample. Jake Bird was optioned to end the year because he had a pretty bad ERA with the. Like he was good with the Rockies, but then when he joined the Yankees, it's sort of like all came crashing down. But I think this year he'll probably be better. So I think he'll probably be like low fours, high threes area, which is fine in the bullpen. And Tim Hill probably like mid threes area. Like he's probably I think he probably pitches lower than this, but probably higher than this. So like somewhere in the middle, of course. And then of course to round it out, Paul Blackburn, Ryan Yarbrough, two like long relief guys. Blackburn, 40 innings in 15 games, so averaging like 3 innings per outing. And then as for Yarbrough, he made 8 starts, but like you can see like 19 games, 64 innings pitched. So again, like 3 innings per outing for Yarbrough, and that's good because like you maybe want to like limit Schiller's innings or maybe Weber's, and if you want to do that, then you can like do a piggyback of like Schiller and Yarbrough or Weber's and Blackburn, something like that. So yeah, it's a very good team overall. The win projections has Judge has an 11-win player, which is sounds insane, but like it's Judge, so like hard to bet against him. Cody Bellinger projected for a 5-win season. Then you have Chisholm, one of the best second basemen in baseball, projected for 4 wins. Max Fried also 4 wins. Grisham 3 wins. He sort of broke out last year, so and like it's not like he's obviously not projected to be like close, like as good as this, but he's definitely better. Probably better than the 1 to 2 win seasons he had the previous 2 years. And of course, Rodon, Ben Rice, Garrett Cole, Stanton, like a ton of guys like projected for around like 2 wins. So the win projections for the Yankees have them at 97-65. First place in AL, like for the first season. They won like 94 last year. So and they're basically like running it back with the same roster. So basically projected for about the same number of wins. I think if you look at the AL East, like it definitely like got stronger. Like the Blue Jays weren't projected to be this good last year. Red Sox like definitely like added a ton this offseason. Orioles also added a ton. But the Rays are like sort of just like slipping behind. So the Yankees probably there's definitely a chance where the Yankees actually like lose wins just because we sort of you have guys coming off career years, sort of like Bellinger not really a career year, but like definitely like very one of his best years in recent memory. Max Fried had a very good year. Grisham like career year. Rodon best years in the past few years. Ben Rice career year. So a lot of guys like who had careers last year. So you can sort of it's sort of you can if they a lot of them like fall back down to earth, then you can sort of see like how they lose wins and how like the Jays can sort of regain the AL East crown, or how the Red Sox could potentially win that division. But it's still a very good team. Like they have a ton of talent and ton of depth. So it's hard to see the Yankees like not at the very least the Yankees should be making the playoffs. Like that's their expectation for the past like long while, and it's what should be happening, what they should expect this year. So yeah, that's all I have for the Yankees. Thank you for watching and goodbye.